Hey, what's up, Bloomfield? And welcome. Here we go. We're going to study for our upcoming Unit 4 test for quadratic equations and factoring. Alright, so here on the first problem, we're just looking at factoring or being able to basically FOIL it out or double distribute. So I'm multiplying the 6 times the 15. So 6 times 15 will give me 90x. And then 6 times negative 11 will give me negative 66. And then we're going to multiply, right, so 6 times negative 11. And then we're going to take the negative 5x and we're going to multiply it by both. Well, 5 times 15 is negative 75x squared. And 5x times 11 would be plus 55x. Well, let's see. Do I have anything that are like terms now? Well, yeah, I have a x here and I have an x here, and we can just put those and combine those together. And then write them from highest exponent towards lowest exponent. So highest degree to lowest degree. So that means that the negative 75x squared would come first. And then 90 and 55. So 90 plus 55 would be plus 145x. And then minus 66. And there is our answer is B. Alright? Alright, so let's look here at problem 2. Well, problem 2, there's a couple things that we notice here. I notice that I have something factored and I have an original equation. It says, which of the following actually describes a graph of y? Well, we know whenever you have your factors, so whenever you have the factors of 2x plus 1 and x minus 5, I can go ahead and write those out. Well, that means that 2x plus 1, in order for it to be that we use our 0 property, that has to equal 0, or our X intercept, right? So I can solve for the X intercept by setting these equal to 0, by setting your factors equal to 0. So we're going to move the 1 over, so subtract the 1. So we get 2x equals negative 1, and then divide by 2. Right? So we get x equals negative 1/2. There's one of our X intercepts. Well, then I can take the other factor in the same way, x minus 5, and because of the 0, right, I can set that also equal to 0, and that means that my other x-intercept is x equals 5. So I know that my x-intercepts are negative 1/2 and 5. So they're negative 1/2 and 5. So the choice is either B or C. We don't know which yet because I'm not sure what the y-intercept is. Well, that's where we have to use the other part of the information that we're given, right? So use the first part, use the second part. So now here, we know, well, let's think through this for a second. When do you get a y-intercept? Well, you get a y-intercept when x is 0. So the only time that you can get a y-intercept is when x is 0. So I can say, well, that's 0, that's 0, and the y-intercept is what? Negative 5. Oh man, that kind of looks like y equals mx plus b, where that's your y-intercept, or just the constant, the one without a variable. So the one without a variable. So then this answer choice then is B. Okay, problem 3, we're given an equation, x squared minus 7x equals 30. Well, I know I have to go ahead and factor that out. So I got x squared minus 7x, and I'm going to just move the 30 over so that way we can set it equal to 0 like we always do. So we're going to subtract the 30 and set that equal to 0. And now we're just going to factor that out. Well, let's see. Well, factors of x squared would be x and x. And possible factors of 30, let's see, 1 and 30, 2 and 15, 3 and 10, or 5 and 6. So let's see, what would I use to make a 10? Well, I'm a 7. So the only way I can make a 7 is by using 3 and 10. So that means that the 10 has to be negative and the 3 has to be positive. Okay, so there are my factors. So now I know that I have x minus 10 equals 0, and x could equal 10, or x plus 3 could equal 0, or x equals -3. Do not get fooled into picking 10 because it shows up. This is a if question, then what? That means there's two different questions. So this is question 1, and this is question 2. So do not get fooled into picking which one the answer for question 1. We have to do something with. Well, it says, what is the value of x minus 5? Well, which x do we use? Well, it gives me a clarification that x has to be greater than 0. So I have to pick this one and then set it into x minus 5, right? So the answer is going to be what? Just 10 minus 5. And so A is our correct answer. All right, for question 6, once again, we're looking for things of squared, so we can just go ahead and factor this out. So let's factor that out. And it kind of already gives me a clue here. All of your answers have 3x at the beginning. So I know one of them has to be 3x. So factors of 6x squared, 3x, and 2x. And then we know these last two have to be factors of 20. Alright, so now I know the last one has to be factors of 20, so it has to be 1 and 20, 2 and 10, or 4 and 5. Well, let's just kind of play around with this a little bit. I know it has to kind of cross-multiply to make the middle term. So let's see, 3 and 5, that would make, let's see, I can put the 5 there, let's try the 4 there. That would make 15. And that would make 8. Is it possible to make a 7 with that? Absolutely. Right, 15 minus 8. So that would make the positive 7, 15 minus 8. So I can make this the minus and this the plus. And which one of these factors is there? Well, 3x minus 4 is there, so that means divides evenly. So the trick is divides evenly just means it is a factor. So which one of these is actually a factor of the original problem? Alright, for question number 5, don't get confused because when there's an x and a k in here, it says, well, it's saying once again there's an if question and then a what question. That means there's two different questions, so this is mean I got to do something with the part that they give me from question 1 and something they give me for the part for question 2. So let's see, this means when x is equal to -5, okay, that means I can put in -5 in for x. So I'm going to do -5 squared plus 2 times -5 times k plus k squared, and that's equal to 0. So let's see, what does that give me? That would be 25, that would be -10k, and that would be plus k squared equals 0. Well, we typically write this a little bit differently, right? We write it from highest degree to lowest degree, so the k squared would come first. K squared minus 10k plus 25, and we set that equal to 0. And now, once again, every time you see a factor of square, so you see a quadratic equation, think, well, can I factor or can I use the quadratic formula? So let's do k and k. Factors of 25 that make a 10. Well, let's see, what are factors of 25? 1 and 25, or 5 and 5, right? And so, yes, I know I can use 5 and 5. Okay, so, but it has to be a -10, so that means it has to be -5 and -5. So if I set that equal to 0, k minus 5 equals 0, and then k is equal to 5. And so that would be our answer there for question number